Hello everyone and welcome to the Daily Tactics Star Wars Tournament. 16 Star Wars characters from various movies will compete to find out who is the toughest in the galaxy. Each battle will be composed of various rules to make it interesting. Some with infantry only, some with weapon restrictions, or anything else you could possibly imagine. Each match will be as equal in terms of numbers and positioning as possible within game restrictions. But one thing's for sure, the warfare will be epic. So without further ado, here are this week's contestants. Thrawn, an Imperial military commander who took over control of the Galactic Empire's remaining forces after the destruction of the second Death Star. He was often called the most brilliant of the Emperor's minions during his time under him, but once he took over control himself, he was diabolical, brilliant, and ruthless all at the same time. Today, he will take his prowess straight to the battlefield by commanding a Death Trooper Legion, with AT-ST tanks taking the front of the assault. Challenging Thrawn today is Commander Wolffe, an impressive veteran of the Clone Wars who is best known as the leader of the legendary Wolfpack Legion in the Grand Army of the Republic. He was one of the few troopers to not fall victim to Order 66 and managed to continue fighting the Empire along with his comrades Commander Gregor and Captain Rex. Today he will take the helm of the Wolfpack once more and use TX-130T tanks to his advantage. There can be but only one winner in today's battle. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daily Tactics here, and today we are back with Game 3 of the Star Wars tournament that we've been doing in Men of War Assault Squad 2. Last game was Luke Skywalker versus Commander Cody. If you'd like to check that out, I won't spoil it for you here. But today we have Commander Wolffe with the 104th Battalion Wolfpack. With a wide assortment of weapons. 50 of them are guarding Commander Wolffe right here behind some trenches, while the rest, about 180 soldiers right here, are going to sally forth along with a bunch of TX-130Ts as well, which are also going to move forward. And they're moving against General Thrawn, at least I believe he's a general, who's right here, being guarded by 50 Death Troopers. And then another about 180 Death Troopers are going to sally forth with 20 AT-ST tanks. So the tanks are basically going to be the first part of the battle. They're the first that's going to sort of engage because they're so much faster than the infantry, and then the infantry is going to come in and slaughter each other, and then the winner of the battle in the middle is going to have to go ahead and assault the enemy's sort of base encampment. So it should be a pretty interesting and dynamic battle. I hope you guys do enjoy it. Yeah, let me know how you guys have been actually enjoying the series as well, because I'm really curious to hear if you like it, if you dislike it, your criticisms, what you like about it. Give me some feedback if you can. It's episode 3. I just hope I'm doing sort of a good job of it and you guys are appreciating it and liking it. And if you're not, I'd love to know that too, because that way I can sort of change it so you guys do enjoy it. Either way, guys, I'll be right back and we can get this started. All right, you bad Larrys. I think we're ready to get this battle started. Let's go ahead and press start, and the tanks for both sides should begin speeding on forward here, and the infantry, which they are doing, is sort of taking a bit more of a casual approach for it as well. These two AT-STs, for some reason, were like, nah fam, we ain't moving forward. That's fine, they can do what they like as long as they engage in the battle at some point. Here comes the TX-130s for the clones coming in as well, and as soon as the first shots get sort of sent out from either side, there's massive explosions everywhere. Both sides taking some losses here. It's turning into full-on warfare right now. We're seeing AT-STs going down. We're seeing TX-130s going down. It's kind of hard to tell who is sort of winning at the moment as this sort of chaos erupts amongst the tanks, which was sort of to be expected. I think it'll calm down a little bit once the infantry gets a bit more involved in the battle themselves. But for now, it's tank warfare all the way. And we're seeing both sides taking significant losses due to this tank warfare. Both sides still having multiple tanks left alive. This one's sort of going for the ankles of the AT-ST, but it ends up blowing up before it can kill it. This one over here also going for the ankles of this bad Larry. That's not a bad strategy. You know, these things are very, very top heavy, so they can go down rather easily. But I think overall the AT-STs might be winning this part of the battle here. It's still somewhat unclear because there's still plenty of TX-130s left alive. But it just seems like the AT-STs are a bit more prominent on the battlefield right now. That could also be due to the fact that they just poke out so much more, but I also think that the Empire might have won sort of the first portion of this battle. Not to worry, the clones do have rocket troopers, in their sort of army as well, and the Death Troopers do too. Oh my god, wait, what? Oh my goodness, the TX-130T just gunned it this way and started attacking Thrawn. Thrawn's still alive, luckily, but the TX-130T is now just sort of causing havoc back here. What a absolute mad lad. Holy cow, okay, so definitely an interesting approach, just blitz the enemy here. Meanwhile, more ATSTs gunning for the clone position over here, and the clones suffering some serious losses because of this, sort of the tanks breaking through their own tank lines and coming very, very far forward here, but they're now just sort of starting to finally get the last few kills on these bad Larrys, and there you go, they are all down. I don't think there are any more TX-130s left alive. Oh, there's actually still a few ATSTs left alive. But I think the only TX-130 left alive is the one way, way back here, which is just taking a beating right now from mainly small arms fire. But it's staying alive. It's certainly low on health at this point, though. It's got to be... Ooh, Thrawn takes a bit of an explosive hit right there. I think he's still alive, but that's intense. How much health does this thing have? It's only got 12 kills, so it's clearly not super effective, but Thrawn's own men keep on hitting him too. That's kind of funny. The last ATST over here is crawling around on the ground. Death Troopers sort of around it, but the majority of the Death Troopers are now focusing in quite heavily on this thing over here. It might be in a bit of a glitch spot. I feel like it should have died by now. Let's just move it out of that glitch spot so these guys have a better shot at it. Alright, it's been hit by like 1,000 bazookas. I'm gonna delete it off the battlefield for the sake of fairness. Because really... Alright, we'll delete this crawling ATST off the battlefield too. I think both sides suffered equal losses on the battlefield due to that, and that TX-130T was taking a lot of bazooka shots. We saw it take at least like 10, and it didn't die. And sometimes the vehicles can get glitched where they're essentially invincible. So either way, we're proceeding with the battle. The tank warfare ended with all tanks being destroyed by the enemy. Some tanks did manage to kill some infantry though, so it'll be interesting to see how that sort of plays into the battle later on, but now it is infantry versus infantry, Death Troopers versus Commander Wolffe's troopers, which actually is a very even match if you think about it, because Death Troopers are some of the elite of the Imperial Army. They're veterans, they sort of spark fear into the enemy, and they're just very, very powerful, a troop variant for the Empire, sent really on the most vital of missions. Meanwhile, Commander Wolffe's troopers and the Wolffe Pack are also, they're veterans of the Clone Wars. They're one of the most feared legions in the lore. They're extremely successful. They're pretty legendary all in all. So both sides have a very, very sort of strong pasts, and they're gonna definitely be a good match for each other in this coming battle, and both sides seem to sort of be coming at each other from the same angle. These guys sort of heading this way, and these guys heading the opposite direction. The Death Troopers coming from a bit of a rocky patch over there. Meanwhile, the clones seem to be sticking to cover behind tanks and things like that. Kind of interesting, but we're seeing that there are like hills sort of in the way of each side, so those hills certainly will play a part in what clones can fire at one time and what Death Troopers can fire at what time, and they're going to add some natural cover to the battlefield, which I think will be very, very sort of interesting to see. The winner of this battle... Oh, I can't really say that actually without going on and spoiling what the last battle was, but the winner of this battle goes on to fight the winner of the Commander Cody versus Luke Skywalker battle in Stage 2 of the tournament. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. Really, whichever side wins, I think, would be an interesting battle, so that'll be kind of cool. But a key part of this battle is to make sure that you keep enough troopers alive after this engagement to be able to attack the opposite side's side. And that is going to be absolutely vital to this battle, because if you don't keep enough soldiers alive during this part, then you could totally fail on attacking the defense part. And obviously then you don't get the win. I think if both sides don't have any free-moving troopers left over, and they still have defensive troopers left over, I'll have sort of like a final death kind of a thing where both commanders sally forth with their remaining soldiers and come to the middle of the battlefield. But for now, let's stick to this and see sort of what's happening. Both sides are very, very displaced. You know, they're not clumped together at all. They're spread out, as we can see, across the battlefields basically entirely. There's no place where there's like a ton of troopers all sort of grouped up. They're all very, very splayed out, and I think that's actually going to work to the advantage of the clone troopers, because we're seeing the death troopers are just now actually starting to clump up a little bit, which causes massive amounts of suppression on one group of troopers. We can see all these guys are getting suppressed by incoming clone fire, and it also makes them easier targets. It's easier to shoot at a blob of soldiers rather than one single soldier or whatever. So just adjusting the camera a little bit there. So we're seeing the clones, I think, getting into a bit better of a strategic position, but that doesn't mean that the death troopers, it's all over for them, because they could very well just power through this and just eliminate the clones. But I think the clones at the moment have the better position, but they're also playing a bit more defensively than the death troopers. The death troopers are having the ability to come forward quite aggressively compared to the clones, who are having to take cover. They're having to sort of deal with suppression here and a very aggressive enemy, who they are managing to get quite a number of kills on, which is good to see. But if this aggression continues and they manage to knock out plenty of clone troopers, then obviously there's going to be some problems there. But for the moment, you know, this sort of aggro death trooper attack is resulting in the clones playing it defensively, and either side could honestly come away with the W here. Looking at the minimap, it does seem like the clones have less troopers left alive than the death troopers do. The death troopers are very clumped together, like I said, but it does seem like they have more soldiers left alive than the freelance clones. But their base back here also suffered quite a number of losses, so they have less troopers back there in that regard. So Commander Wolffe could come in clutch here and finish this battle off with his 50 troops back here and crush these guys who are attacking him. But it does seem like right now the death troopers are going to manage to make it to Commander Wolffe's sort of hideout base type of a thing. So the more kills that these guys who are sallied forth can get, the better it'll be for Commander Wolffe's sort of final defensive here. Which, I'm saying that now, it could turn out a very different way. It could end up being that the death troopers get stopped before they even get to Commander Wolffe. But just judging by what I'm seeing right now, I'd say right now Commander Wolffe is going to have to be the defender. I wish I knew who the next battle was going to be for next week, but I can't remember. I feel like I looked it up before the battle so I could have something to talk about with you guys, but I totally forgot, so that's alright. Honestly, I don't actually even know that much about Thrawn's lore. I never read the Thrawn trilogy, which I'm pretty sure is where he originates from. Like, he originates from the Thrawn trilogy, and then in Rebels, the TV show, they decided to bring him onto that show because of how well written he was in the trilogy, and fans really wanted to see him. That's my understanding of how events sort of proceeded with Thrawn. But I've never seen Rebels, just because I've heard it's not the greatest show ever, and they didn't really do the Clone Wars justice, and like it was a little, like, way more kiddie than the Clone Wars. Like, I loved the Clone Wars. I thought the Clone Wars was great, but I've heard Rebels is nowhere near that quality. Which, if you like Rebels, I mean, that's great. I think that's awesome if you guys are into things. But from what I've heard, and I guess I can't really judge without having seen it, but I've heard it's just not fantastic. So I don't really have much of an interest in watching that, and that's the main appearance cinematically where Thrawn comes in. So I might just never know really the backstory behind Thrawn, which is very sad. But oh well. I do know a good amount about Commander Wolffe, though. At least his stuff that isn't involved in Star Wars Rebels. Either way, the Death Troopers sweep the last of Commander Wolffe's troops right there, and they do take some losses in doing so, but not a ton. So they're going to have to come up against Commander Wolffe's final defensive back here, which is well stacked and prepared for the oncoming Death Troopers. We'll see sort of how they fare against them. They're already starting to get some shots out with their longer range rifles here. Looking to get some early picks, but the Death Troopers, they've only got cover until this position here. So once they make it to this position, they'll be able to shoot and respond to Commander Wolffe's attacks. But then past that, they're going to have to cross an open plain, which of course is not a good thing when you're going up against a defensive position. So we'll definitely see how that goes, and it could be a very unique part of the battle. I'm also fussing about with a new microphone position during this video. I don't know how it sounds. I'm going to look back on the footage and see how it is, but I think it'll be okay. I think it'll sound better than before, because before I was really close to the mic and it was leading to a lot of pop sounds, and I don't have a pop filter at the moment. So I'm hoping keeping it a little bit farther away will help a bit more. Alright, but the Death Troopers sort of getting ready to make their advance here, and the Wolffe pack back here standing steadily, ready to take them on. This map is also like super laggy. There's not that many troopers on the field, and yet we're getting like 5 FPS. I think it's all these things, honestly, like dancing about back here. I think that's causing a lot of the lag, so I'm just gonna delete a few of these bad Larrys. Actually, that helped the lag tremendously. Now we are getting 50, 60 FPS. Okay, sick. That's actually awesome, because the lag was really excruciating before. Either way, Wolffe's troopers fully engaging with Thrawn's Death Troopers here. And both sides had even health in this battle, but it seems like the Death Troopers are just absolutely tearing up the clones here. The clones just getting totally thwomped on, and I don't fully understand why. I guess the Death Troopers might just be getting superior fire out, but Commander Wolffe and his men are really struggling here compared to the Death Troopers, who are, they're taking losses. They're probably taking like 10 or so losses, but they're just not, you know, it's not impacting them as much. And Wolffe is just having his troopers downed over and over again, which is kind of interesting. Wow, this is tough here. This could be the first Clone Commander loss of the series, because previous Clone Commanders both won. My goodness. And Commander Wolffe himself is under a bit of fire now. And they're still responding with fire of their own, which is good to see, and they're still getting a few kills, but it might all be futile at this point. I don't think Commander Wolffe has nearly enough troopers to get the dub here. Death Troopers just crushing them. It must have had something to do with positioning or something like that, because they had the exact same numbers, the exact same amount of health for those troopers, and yet Commander Wolffe's soldiers completely are getting got here. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 troopers remaining, including Commander Wolffe, who's still alive, versus probably, I don't know, maybe a sixth of the Death Trooper army that started. So the Death Troopers certainly took losses, but just nowhere near the amount Commander Wolffe's troopers did, so that's kind of surprising. Alright, let's see if these last few lads can get some kills here. It'd be nice if they could. Nope, that guy immediately gets picked off. This guy's getting grenaded, this other guy's getting grenaded too. Commander Wolffe chilling. Yeah, his troopers get slaughtered. Commander Wolffe is getting hit in the head. In the mighty fall. I really like Commander Wolffe, but he ends up dying right there, and the Death Troopers sally forth. So Thrawn wins this battle with his Death Troopers. We can check out the losses here. Yellow are dead Death Troopers, and you know they lost some on Commander Wolffe's final stand, but they killed way more. I guess they did have numeric superiority to the just 50 guys who were chilling there. They probably had 80 or something left alive. Down in the middle here, this is where they took the most losses when they were going up against Wolffe's main troopers. Oh, and I think I might sort of see the problem here. Wolffe was kind of on the downslope of this hill, while these guys had this own little sort of flat section here. So as Wolffe's troopers came down the hill, these guys were able to shoot at them from sort of a flat surface, and that might have caused more damage than Wolffe's troopers could sort of do. And then they sort of backed up into these poorly placed positions back here, I would say. I don't know, that's just a theory, but as we can see, Wolffe's troopers, they tried their best. This TX-130T back here did a great job. And of course, Thrawn is still alive. But I had to delete this thing. It had been shot so many times. It totally should have died. But yeah, Thrawn will continue into the next episode, and Commander Wolffe has been knocked out of the tournament. I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Let me know what you thought. Comment and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.